Hi, I'm Daniel, 32, and last month my life blew up when my entire family ghosted me, while my son and I were in the hospital after being hit by a drunk driver. We just seen a movie, some animated dragon thing Jonah picked, and we're driving home, windows down, sun out, laughing over a line I didn't even catch. I glanced over at him, saw his messy hair and goofy grin, and then, bam! Metal on metal, glass shattering, the world turning sideways. A white truck flew through the red light, slammed into us like it had a personal vendetta. The airbags punched the air from my lungs. My ears were ringing. Jonah was crying but awake. Conscious. That's all I needed in that moment. The guy who hit us? Slurring. Reeking. Clutching a half-spilled six-pack like it was a newborn. He tried to walk away. A stranger had to sit him down until the ambulance came. At the hospital, they said we were lucky. Ribs bruised for me, a sprained wrist for Jonah, stitches on his forehead. No broken bones. No internal bleeding. Just pain and whiplash and a sharp reminder that life doesn't give warnings. And that's when I texted the family group chat. Just a short message. We're in the hospital. Alive but shaken. Drunk driver hit us. We'll update later. It was 1:17 p.m. I waited, staring at the screen. Surely someone would reply. My sister Rachel, maybe. My mom. My dad, who usually panics if I sneeze twice. But nothing. 3 minutes. 10. An hour. Jonah was asleep, hooked up to fluids. I was curled awkwardly in a visitor chair when I opened Instagram. And there it was, the reason for the silence. Selfies. Balloons. Rooftop brunch. My entire family was grinning over mimosas at my niece's golden birthday. My dad in a gold paper crown. My mom beaming. Rachel toasting with a flute of sparkling lemonade. Every single one of them smiling, while my son was sleeping off trauma in a hospital bed. They had seen the message. I knew it. And not one of them had replied. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the pain, though the bruises on my ribs made breathing feel like punishment, but because every time I closed my eyes, I saw my son's head jerking sideways in slow motion, heard the crunch of metal, and then remembered the silence. Not the crash silence, the silence that came after I told my family. No calls. No messages. Not even a damn thumbs-up reaction. The next morning, the hospital discharged us. Jonah was tired, stitched up, still a little dazed. We took a cab home. I made soup I didn't want to eat. I turned on cartoons and tried to act normal. He curled up beside me, watching in that zone-out way only a kid who's been through hell can. My phone stayed quiet. I checked the group chat. My message was still there, unread by some, ignored by others. Above it, photos from the brunch. Below it, jokes about the food, my mom asking if someone grabbed extra cupcakes, Rachel replying, LOL, yes, I grabbed 3. 3 hours later, I finally got a message. From my dad. Just 5 words. Answer now. We need you. No punctuation. No context. No, are you okay? I stared at the screen. Jonah looked over at me and asked, Is it Grandma? I said I didn't know. I called. And what happened next made me black out, literally. Jonah told me later that I fainted. Just crumpled to the floor like someone unplugged me. He was the one who found the glass of water, who knelt next to me whispering, Dad? Until I came to. Because what my father said on that call wasn't, How's Jonah? It wasn't even, Are you hurt? It was, We're short this month. The HOA fees are late. And Rachel needs help with Olivia's school trip deposit. It's not that much. You always help. He sounded impatient, like I was the one being unreasonable. I couldn't even answer. My throat felt locked. And when I didn't say anything, he added, You're always fine. You're not struggling. Like that justified it. I didn't hang up. I didn't speak. I just remember the sound of my phone clattering to the floor, Jonah's small hand gripping my arm. And the realization that I could have died, we both could have, and they still would have expected me to bring the damn check. By the 3rd day, I wasn't angry. I was hollow. I'd gone from bruised to broken to nothing. Not numb exactly. More like I'd opened a door and found out the room I thought was home had been empty for years. The group chat was still a circus, birthday selfies, brunch praise, a video of my dad dancing like a tired penguin. My message sat right there in the middle, like someone had spilled red wine on a white tablecloth and nobody wanted to admit they saw it. Then Rachel messaged me. No mention of Jonah. No. Hey, how's recovery? Just, can you watch the girls Saturday? We've got tickets to that concert. Same time as usual. I didn't answer. I didn't even react. The next morning, my mom sent me a photo of a utility bill. No words. Just the bill. Like she thought I'd intuitively know to cover it, again. That afternoon, I told Jonah I was going to visit my parents. He looked up from his sketchpad and said, "You don't have to go if you don't want to." I blinked. He's 11. He shouldn't have to say that. But I told him I needed to. He asked if he could come with me. So instead of babysitting my niece, I drove Jonah to my parents' house, our first time seeing them since the accident. The moment we pulled into the driveway, I felt it. That knot in your stomach when you already know the outcome but you still hope you're wrong. My mom opened the door like she hadn't been expecting anyone, even though I'd texted. No hug. No smile. She just looked at Jonah, turned around, and walked back inside. We followed. My dad was in the recliner watching golf or baseball, or whatever background noise helped him ignore real things. He didn't look up. Just said, "So, did you bring it or not?" I blinked. "Bring what?" "The money," he said like it was obvious. "You got the text?" That was the first time in my life I felt something in me snap, but not loudly. It wasn't a yell or a scream. It was quiet. A door in my heart shutting for good. I told him I didn't come with money. I came to ask how he could read that hospital message and say nothing. How they could all celebrate while Jonah was bleeding in an ER bed. My mom finally sat down across from me and said, like she was correcting a child, "You made it sound worse than it was." I said, "He was crying and covered in blood." And she replied, "We've seen worse. You're fine now. If it had been serious, someone would have called." Then my dad chimed in, not even glancing at Jonah. "It was Olivia's birthday. Rachel worked hard on that brunch. You can't expect us to drop everything over a fender bender." A fender bender. Like we'd nudged a mailbox and not been T-boned by a drunk who tried to flee. Then Rachel walked in from the kitchen holding a wine glass and said, "You always make everything about you." I looked down at Jonah, who was now holding my hand like it was the only thing anchoring him. I looked up at them and said, "I can't do this anymore. I'm done pretending this is a relationship." Rachel laughed, and muttered, "She'll be back next week. Wait until she needs help with something." Jonah tugged on my hand and whispered, "Please. Can we go?" So we left. No slammed door. No speech. Just silence. But it was the kind of silence that marks an ending. The next morning I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my banking app. And then I started severing the cords. I stopped paying their internet. Cancelled the automatic transfer I'd been sending them every month since my dad's back surgery 6 years ago. I removed myself from their phone plan. Their electric bill. Even the backup contact listed on their pharmacy account. Gone. I wasn't angry. I was surgical. Like I was finally pulling out splinters that had been festering for years. The first call came that afternoon. My mom. "Sweetie," she said, "did something happen with the card? The phone bill didn't go through." I said, "I know." She paused. Then, in a tone so fake I could hear her blink through it, "Are you okay?" I didn't answer. She hung up. Rachel was next. Texted, "Hey, just checking, still good for Saturday?" Like the last conversation hadn't happened. Like she hadn't told me I was selfish for getting hit by a truck. I ignored her. Then my dad texted, "Electric's due. Just a heads up." The card bounced. "No, please. No, thank you." Just assumption. It took them exactly 5 days to escalate. Rachel showed up. Again. This time she brought the girls. Didn't call. Didn't text. Just parked her car, marched up the porch and said, "Can you watch them for a few hours?" Something came up. I said, "No." She smiled like I was joking. "It's an emergency." "No," I said again. "You can't just drop them here." She didn't argue. She turned on her heel, walked back to her car, and drove away. Drove away. Her daughters were still standing on my porch like 2 little forgotten parcels. One of them looked up and asked, "Do you have fruit snacks?" I didn't know whether to scream or laugh or cry. I let them in. Made them dinner. Put on a movie. Texted Rachel once. I did not agree to this. Don't do it again. No reply. She came back at 9:12 p.m., rang the bell, handed me a fake thank you, and vanished again. Not a word about the accident. Not a word about Jonah. That night, Jonah sat on the couch next to me, staring blankly at the TV. Then he asked, "Would you ever leave me like that?" I turned so fast it startled him. No. Never. He nodded like he already knew the answer. I don't want to be like them, he said. Ever. Neither did I. A few days later, I got an email from the electric company. Not mine, my parents'. Apparently, I was still listed as a secondary contact on their account, something I'd completely forgotten about. The subject line slapped me in the face. Final shut OFF notice. Past due balance, $317.85. I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed it. And that's when the phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me swipe. Michelle, it's Aunt Lorraine. I blinked. Lorraine? She hadn't called me in years. I just heard, she said, already emotional. Why didn't you tell me about the accident? The hospital? Everything? I told her I hadn't thought she'd care. She practically gasped. Of course I care. I asked your mom what happened, and she said it was dramatics again. But the neighbors said Jonah had stitches and that the car was totaled. I needed to hear from you. I couldn't stop myself, my throat clenched. She kept going. They've always babied Rachel. You've been the one holding everything up for years. It's not your job anymore. And just like that, the lump in my chest cracked. Because someone else saw it. Saw me. That weekend, Jonah and I went to Lorraine's for dinner. Her house was small, lived in, no glitter or stage perfection like my mom's. Just spaghetti, garlic bread, and laughter that didn't feel like a performance. Jonah threw a tennis ball for her dog in the backyard while Lorraine sat beside me, warm hand on mine, asking questions that didn't end with requests. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask why I hadn't called. She just asked how we were. Jonah came in at one point, sweaty and smiling, and said, "Can we come back?" Lorraine laughed. "You better." On the drive home, Jonah said, "They actually like us." I said, "I think they do." And that night, for the first time in weeks, I slept through the night without waking up to check my phone. I stopped waiting for apologies. And started noticing who was actually showing up. I woke up Monday morning feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Stillness. Not the kind that comes from everything being fine, but the kind you get when you finally stop bleeding for people who never noticed you were cut. I made Jonah breakfast, dropped him off at school, and ignored my phone like it was radioactive. It buzzed. Once. Twice. Then 10 times in a row. Group chat. My mom. Running low on meds. Can you grab these from the pharmacy? Attached, a blurry photo of her pill bottles. My dad. Mortgage past due. Let me know. Rachel, a voice memo that began with, "Look, I know you're still being weird, but..." I didn't even finish it. I deleted it mid-sigh. None of them asked how I was. How Jonah was. Not a mention of the hospital. Not a flicker of concern. Just one question: what can you do for us now? That was my value. Not daughter. Not sister. Not dad survivor with a traumatized kid. Just the default setting for unpaid family labor. So I didn't respond. I worked a double shift. Came home. Watered the balcony plants. Ate leftover pasta with Jonah while he told me about a weird math problem he solved using a logic trick from the movie we'd seen before the crash. It was the first time I heard him sound like himself again. It took exactly 5 days before Rachel showed up. And this time, she was fuming. She didn't knock. Just waited outside my door with her arms crossed, face storm cloud tight. I opened it. She launched in. "You don't get to do this." "Do what?" "Disappear. Ghost the whole family like some drama queen. Mom's barely eating. Dad's a wreck. Olivia thinks you hate her." I stood there, calm. Tired. I almost lost my son. I said. "You didn't." She snapped. "So stop acting like you did. You're not the only one with problems, Michelle." I let her finish. Then I asked, "What do you want?" She blinked. Like she hadn't prepared for that question. "I want my sister back," she finally said. "The one who cared." The one who didn't make everything so difficult. I didn't blink. You don't miss me, I said. You miss what I did for you. Silence. And for once, she had nothing to say. She turned and walked away without another word. But 2 days later it got worse. The call came while I was cleaning out Jonah's closet. An unknown number again. Hi, is this Michelle Harper? The voice asked. Calm. Too calm. Yes? This is Ben, the property manager for Maple Heights. I'm calling regarding the overdue HOA account at 1423, Juniper Lane. I felt my stomach drop. My parents' house. I'm not the homeowner, I said immediately. I understand. But you're listed as the secondary guarantor on the account. What? He repeated it, slow and careful. Your father added you last year. Said you were handling their financials. You're liable for the balance if it's not paid by the end of the month. How much? 1782. I sat down on the floor, among Jonah's outgrown hoodies, and closed my eyes. They'd done it again. No warning. No heads up. Just another account quietly wrapped around my neck like a leash. I called my dad. No answer. I texted, "Why am I listed on your HOA account?" His reply, "Didn't think you'd mind. You always cover it." I don't know what I expected. Apology, maybe? A single ounce of acknowledgement? But instead I realized something that hit me like cold water. They weren't trying to hurt me. They didn't hate me. They just didn't see me. To them, I wasn't Michelle, the person. I was Michelle, the wallet. The babysitter. The fallback plan. The one who made everything work, always, no matter what. And now that I wasn't playing along, they were panicking. That night, I sat at the kitchen table while Jonah did math homework beside me. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just quietly started removing myself from everything. I called the HOA. Explained the situation. Had my name taken off. I called every utility company I'd ever helped with. Removed myself from accounts. Changed emails. Blocked access. Cut every rope they could pull on. It felt like unhooking myself from a sinking ship, one chain at a time. The next morning, my dad left a voicemail. "You're really doing this to your family?" Then came the guilt grenades. "Rachel. Hope you're proud. When Mom gets sick again, don't bother showing up." I didn't respond. Instead, that weekend, Jonah and I went back to Aunt Lorraine's. We grilled burgers. Her husband showed Jonah how to change the oil in her car. We watched Back to the Future and drank hot cocoa. At one point, Lorraine handed Jonah a sweater that used to belong to her son. Jonah lit up like it was Christmas. And later that night, as we stood in the driveway, Jonah turned to me and said, "Can we come here for Thanksgiving?" I looked at him. "You sure?" He nodded. "It's quieter here." I like quiet now. I hadn't realized until that moment just how much he'd been carrying, too. Not just the crash, but the weight of being raised around people who only valued you when you were useful. So I said yes. And meant it. Thanksgiving came faster than I expected. The old me would have been baking pies, answering last-minute group chat chaos, and juggling whatever guilt trip logistics my mom lobbed at me that year. But this time? I didn't even open the chat. Lorraine texted us that morning. "Turkey's almost ready. Got marshmallows for the sweet potatoes just how Jonah likes. No pressure, but we're excited." That one message, just a little softness, zero expectations, meant more than every family first bumper sticker my parents ever slapped on their minivan. Jonah wore the hand-me-down sweater Lorraine gave him. He added a little pin to it from his backpack, some cartoon dinosaur he said was Thanksgiving-themed if you squint. His face looked lighter. No undercurrent of anxiety. Just a kid excited to hang lights and maybe sneak some pie before dinner. When we arrived, Lorraine hugged us both. No big emotional scene, just a warmth that stayed with me long after she let go. The house smelled like food, not like stress. The table wasn't decorated with Pinterest perfection, it was paper napkins and mismatched plates, but it was real. Her daughter, Claire, had dug up a box of old Christmas ornaments for Jonah to go through. He treated each one like it was a museum artifact. Claire asked if he wanted to help hang them after dinner. I thought he might explode from joy. Lorraine's husband, Greg, handed me a glass of wine and said, "We're glad you came." That was it. No caveats. No undercurrent of what can you do for us. Just glad. Halfway through dinner, out of habit more than anything, I checked my phone. The family group chat had exploded. Rachel. Dinner at Mom and Dad's is on. 4 p.m. Michelle's still bringing the pumpkin pie, right? My mom. Don't forget the whipped cream this time. The kids were disappointed last year. And then, just a few minutes later. Rachel again. So, you're really not coming? Another. Not even a text? Wow. And finally. You could have at least sent the pie. I stared at the screen, then turned it face down and tucked it into my bag. No anger. No heartbreak. Just clarity. Because there it was, all of it, on display. The script hadn't changed. They'd ignored Jonah's injuries. Ignored the accident. Never once asked how we were healing. And yet here they were, once again, expecting me to show up, serve, smile, and apologize if I was late with the dessert. Jonah caught my eye. Did they say anything? I shrugged. Only about pie. He rolled his eyes. Of course they did. That night, after dessert and ornament hanging and an embarrassing amount of whipped cream on pie that wasn't pumpkin, Lorraine handed me a small envelope. Just something I thought you might want, she said. No pressure. Inside was a framed photo, me and Jonah from the second dinner we had at her house. We were both mid-laugh, heads tilted back. The kind of joy that isn't posed. Below it, in neat handwriting, was a quote. Family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up when it counts. I cried for the first time in weeks. Not because I was sad. But because someone saw us. Really saw us. I hung that frame in our hallway. Right next to Jonah's school art and the magnet board he keeps for trading cards and weird doodles. Every time I walk past it, I remember what it felt like to stop surviving my family and start living without them. A week later, I got another message from Rachel. This time, it was long. Colder. More final. We've decided it's best if you don't come to family things anymore. You made your choice. You shut us out. Don't expect to be invited if you're going to act like this. Mom and Dad are heartbroken. Hope you're happy. There it was. The exile. The final attempt at guilt. But instead of panicking like I once would have, like I used to when their love felt like a light I had to constantly earn, I felt nothing. Not because I didn't care. But because I finally understood. I didn't lose my family. I let them go. There's a difference. Losing implies it was taken from me. That I wanted it. That I chased it. But I stopped chasing the moment I realized I was never going to be anything but convenient. I chose Jonah. I chose peace. I chose myself. I chose to stop being a lifeline for people who would have let me drown if it interfered with brunch. Christmas Eve came. Lorraine texted again. We'd love to have you. No pressure. I've got a ham with your name on it. Jonah asked if he could bring his dinosaur pin for the stocking. I said absolutely. We arrived to stockings with our names embroidered on them. Jonah's had candy, earbuds, and a little flashlight. Mine had fuzzy socks, a handwritten recipe for Lorraine's sweet potatoes, and another note. We're just glad you're here. That's it. No demands. No guilt. Just joy, exactly where we were. And that was the moment I finally understood what family really is. Not blood. Not obligation. Not those who remember you when they need you. But those who see you, choose you, when you have nothing left to give. And who stay. It's been 4 months since the accident. 4 months since the silence. Since the brunch. Since the group chat turned into a mirror I couldn't unsee. You'd think after cutting ties, after all the drama and the screaming absence, there'd be a hole. Some aching gap in the shape of a family. But there isn't. There's space now. Real, uncluttered space. And we've started filling it, with laughter that isn't forced, invitations that aren't traps, and days that aren't about walking on eggshells. Jonah's been different, too. He draws more. Hums while he brushes his teeth. Talks to Lorraine's dog like it's his best friend. His shoulders have relaxed in a way I didn't even realize they'd been tense before. And last week, he asked if we could invite Claire and her parents to his birthday in the spring. It'd be weird to not do anything, he said. But I don't want them. I knew who them meant. You don't have to explain, I said. We'll make it your kind of party. He smiled. I kinda want to try a piñata. Then we're getting a piñata. This morning, I found a card in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting before I even opened it. My mom. Inside was a single line. Hope you're proud of yourself. That was it. No. We miss you. No. How's Jonah? Just one last attempt to hand me the weight of her disappointment, like it was a casserole dish I should carry out of obligation. I didn't reply. I didn't even keep it. I shredded it, made Jonah hot cocoa, and later that night, we sat on the couch under a thrifted blanket, watching reruns of some old sitcom that made him laugh until he hiccuped. And I realized, this was the real holiday miracle. Not forgiveness. Not reunion. But release. I don't need their approval. I don't need to be the fixer. The helper. The invisible glue holding a dysfunctional machine together. I just need this, Jonah beside me, safe. A quiet night. A roof that doesn't come with emotional eviction notices. And the knowledge that I broke the cycle. He'll never have to unlearn the kind of love I did. That's the legacy I get to leave. And for the first time, I'm proud of that.